What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and today we're going to be looking at my official 2021-22 NFL playoff predictions. This is a video I love doing, so without further ado, let's start with the AFC. So the seeds are as followed. Tennessee is the 1 seed. They currently have a first round bye. And then you have the 2 seed Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 7 seed Pittsburgh Steelers. 3 seed Buffalo Bills playing host to the 6 seed New England Patriots. And the 4 seed Cincinnati Bengals playing host to the 5 seed Las Vegas Raiders. We're going to start by looking at the battle of the 2 and the 7, Kansas City versus Pittsburgh. So, these two teams actually did recently play each other in Week 16, and Kansas City smoked the Steelers 36-10. Does that influence me? Well, so for both teams here, Kansas City has some interesting health concerns to an extent. I mean, will Clyde Edwards-Helaire be playing? That's the big question for them. He's still dealing with the injury. If he doesn't play, then Williams will have a bigger role in the backfield. But that's not the biggest negative, I guess you could say. Mahomes is playing at a strong level right now, which is very good. He just did very well against Pittsburgh a few weeks back. So that's another positive for Kansas City. Of course, the receiving core is healthy. Tyreek Hill is doing what Tyreek Hill does. Travis Kelce is still being a very strong player. So Kansas City's offense is trending in the right direction. Their defense is still playing very well. So right now, Kansas City is a team to beat. Pittsburgh on the flip side. So on the health side of things, Juju Smith-Schuster, surprisingly, may be playing today, or this week. He actually went to practice today, and he logged a full practice. So that's a big positive for Pittsburgh. They did not have Juju when they played Kansas City last time. But will Juju really be able to help them overcome a 26-point deficit? That's where it gets a little tough. And you also got to remember, they still have Roethlisberger as the quarterback. Roethlisberger, obviously, a decade ago, prime Roethlisberger, could go head-to-head with Mahomes. But can this older Roethlisberger? That's where it gets tough. Najee Harris, though, has been one of the best running backs in the game this year, so that's a huge positive. And the Steelers' defense has been amazing. Of course, TJ Watt tied the all-time single-season sack record despite missing some time due to injuries. So this defense is definitely something to be afraid of. Who do I think is going to win this game? So I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the home team, which, it does matter, but it's not like the huge, most important thing in the world. But there is an impact, especially in Kansas City. Arrowhead Stadium is a very tough stadium to play in. And like I said before, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers isn't the task it used to be. I should have wrote Kansas City there. My apologies. They're the 2 seed. So, Kansas City is in a very good position to make it past the wild card round. So next, we're going to go with the 3 seed Buffalo Bills playing host to the 6 seed New England Patriots. Now, these two teams, they recently met. They've met twice in the past month and a half. And their 2 games, each team won a game. New England won a weather game in Buffalo 14-10, but then Buffalo went into New England and won that game 33-21. So each team has a win, but you can look at it and say Belichick planned better for the weather against Buffalo than Buffalo did. Belichick was able to run the ball more. So we're going to start by looking at Buffalo here. Josh Allen, he's not playing at the extremely high level that we'd hoped, but he's still playing at a high enough level that he's more than strong. He's more than a solid quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Stephon Diggs, still elite. The run game, still a bit of a non-factor, which is a bit of a concern outside of Josh Allen, of course. Now, they do have other receivers, too. Of course, Cole Beasley has his days. Dawson Knox is looking very strong. Even Emmanuel Sanders has his games. So, New England's going to have some tough time covering these guys. The Bills' defense is still one of the, not like a top-tier one anymore, but they're still one of the better defenses in the league. There's a reason they are currently the 3 seed. And right now, they are hot. They did have a cold stretch towards the middle of the season, but now they are kind of rebounding. So that's a huge positive for the Bills. On the flip side, you get to the Patriots. Now, Mac Jones, as a rookie, he was the 5th of the drafted quarterbacks in the first round. He's playing very well. He's not playing out of his mind, but he's playing well. He's controlling the ball. He's holding onto the ball when he has to. So he has been struggling a little bit lately, though. The running game for New England, it's a Bill Belichick-led running attack. So there's 15 different running backs, it seems, on this team. If they had James White still, that would be a huge plus, but unfortunately he is done for the year. So they're relying on all these different running backs. So the Bills will have some fun trying to figure out who's going to be the workhorse for the Patriots this week. Receiving game, the Patriots receiving game is just kind of good, but not great. There's not really like a standout top tier wide receiver 2 to pair with Jacoby Myers. Myers is the best receiver on the team, but other than that, the Patriots are okay. The tight end duo of Hunter Henry and, of course, Jonnu Smith, good, not great, maybe not worth the money they gave him. The Patriots defense, though, is still pretty strong, one of the better ones in the league. So who's going to win this game? Now, conventional wisdom says the Patriots did win in Buffalo this year, so they can do it. Now, the real question comes down to how's the weather going to be in Buffalo, and, of course, which team's hot. So right now, the weather doesn't appear to be a factor in Buffalo. Of course, it could always change. The weather's always temperamental. So that doesn't necessarily help either team, but doesn't hurt either team. Both these teams are cold weather climate teams, so it's not like it's the Dolphins going into Buffalo, for example. So really, the hotter team is Buffalo. They have the home field. I'm going Buffalo, which will set them up for a battle with Kansas City once more in the playoffs. And then you got the 4-seed Cincinnati Bengals playing host to the 5-seed Las Vegas Raiders. Now, these two teams did play earlier in the year in Las Vegas, and the Bengals won this game 32-13, so they handled the Raiders. But this was also a different Raiders team. This was a Raiders team that was still in a bit of turmoil. So it's going to be tough. We'll start by looking at the Bengals. First things first, Joe Burrow does appear to be healthy after that injury he suffered at the end of Week 17. So that's a huge plus for the Bengals. Obviously, you need Burrow to continue playing out of his mind. He has been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL these past couple weeks. So you got to give Burrow credit. He is proving that the first overall pick, from 2020, he's standing up and he is saying, I deserve to be the first overall pick in that draft. He is playing at such a high level. Of course, you still have Jamar Chase there as the top receiver. You have Tyler Boyd. You have just so many different receivers there in Cincinnati that they're ready to go. The running game with Mixon, Mixon's not a top 5 running back in the league, but he is one of the better running backs in the league. He's a bit of a workhorse still, which is hard to find in today's NFL. Tight end-wise, not much there. Defensively, solid defense. Like the Bengals defense isn't a defense that screams to me that says, this is the best defense in the AFC, this is the best defense in the NFL. No. But what they do tell me is they're a serviceable defense that will get the job done. Nitty-gritty. On the flip side, you got the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders are being led by a strong season from Derek Carr. And it's just amazing how much this team has rebounded this year. They've gone through so much. Of course, they had to cut their 2 first-round picks from 2020. They're both gone, no longer with the team. They had to fire their head coach. So it's crazy that the Raiders are here as the 5th seed in the AFC. I just got to give them credit for that. So, Derek Carr, though, great season so far. The running game, Josh Jacobs is good, but he's not a top 5 running back just like Joe Mixon. He's one of the better ones in the league, but he's not great. Kenyon Drake's been a solid compliment back to him. The receiving core, Hunter Renfrow has really stepped up his game in the past half year. It's a shame they had to get rid of their other first-round pick from 2020, or their first-round pick from 2020. He was looking like he could have a great year this year, but unfortunately, it doesn't work out. So Hunter Renfrow, though, great year so far. The Raiders' defense, it's good, but it's not great. The Raiders' defense has a bit of a disadvantage when matched up against the Bengals' defense. So who do I have winning this game? It's going to be closer than the 32-13 game that the Bengals won before, but the Bengals should, keyword should, be able to win this one against the Raiders. So now we have, unfortunately, all the top 4 seeds advance, which I don't like doing, but that's how it works. So the first matchup we'll look at is the 1 seed Tennessee Titans playing host to the Bengals. So we're going to discuss the Titans here. Ryan Tannehill, meh. Okay, that's the best way to look at him. He's good, but he's not elite. He's not great. He's a serviceable quarterback. But on the flip side, he does have A.J. Brown on his team. A.J. Brown is healthy. Julio Jones, he's not what he was. So there's a big question mark with Julio. But A.J. Brown is a great player. He's probably the best receiver. he's definitely the best receiver in the AFC South. So he's one of the best receivers in the league. He's probably a top 10. So having A.J. Brown play is critical for this team. And their tight end position is good, not great. Their defense is pretty solid. I mean, their defense has been stifling opponents recently. They are one of the hotter teams in the league. Granted, they did lose an interesting game not too long ago. They lose some weird games, but they win some weird games. Now, you'll notice I omitted the running back position. That's because we have to discuss Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was definitely a frontrunner for Offensive Player of the Year, if not MVP, before he got hurt. Now, the real thing is, will he be healthy? And will he be playing? Since they activated the window for him to return, we'll know. He'll either have to go back on the IR and the season will be over, or they'll have to activate him. Now, I think no matter what happens, the Titans are going to activate him. So, the real thing is, will Derrick Henry play? And if he plays, how much is he going to play? So, I'm going to go under the assumption that Derrick Henry is healthy. He's going to be playing. So, from here on out, Derrick Henry's healthy. That's the assumption I'm going by. So, who do I have winning this game between them and the Bengals? This is a close one. So, to me, this is a crucial game that I could really see Cincinnati pulling the upset in Tennessee. I could see Tennessee cruising past the Bengals. Now, like I said before, Tennessee has some weird wins where they go against great teams and beat them, but then they lose to teams like the Texans. So, it's a tough one, but I'm going with the safe choice, I guess you could say. I'm going to say Tennessee's going to hold on. Again, Derrick Henry should be playing in this game. A healthy Derrick Henry going against the Bengals' good but not great front four should be enough for the Titans to advance into the next round, despite Ryan Tannehill's iffy play recently. It's going to be a shootout, and I really could see the Bengals pulling the upset. I'd love to see the Bengals pulling the upset. I'd love to see the Bengals make a run this year. I just don't see it right now. Talk to me in a week, and the Bengals might be my pick. Then we have Kansas City versus Buffalo. This is a matchup that we had last year in the AFC Championship game, so always a fun battle. These two teams did meet earlier in the year. Buffalo won 38-20, so that is worth noting. Now, who do I have winning this matchup? Since we already discussed the teams, it's going to be a good one. You're going into Arrowhead, so that's already a huge advantage for Kansas City. Playing in Arrowhead is a bit of a tough draw for any team, regardless who you are, because that's a fan base that packs that stadium, and that is the loudest stadium in the NFL, hands down, no denying it. So this is where it gets tough. I mean, the Bills have been one of the hotter teams in the league, but the problem is Kansas City has arguably been the hottest team in the league, excluding their tough draw loss to Cincinnati. Now, one thing I should say too, if Cincinnati was hosting Tennessee, I'd say the Bengals are going to win the game. I mean, this is a tough battle, but you got to give it to the hot hand. I'm going to give it to Patrick Mahomes. He's been here before. He's done it before. He has beaten the Bills before in the playoffs. He will do it. When the Bills beat the Chiefs earlier in the year, different team in Kansas City entirely. So that means my AFC Championship battle will be the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. This is going to be a bit of a tough draw for Kansas City and a tough draw for Tennessee. So, again, I'm assuming Derrick Henry's healthy. I'm not going to say there's injuries. This is going to be a good game. It's going to be one of those games that's going to be a high-scoring game just because of how the teams match up. So, I would love a lot of things here. And, of course, one of those things would be to see Kansas City go on to lose because, we don't want to have the same team representing the AFC 3 years in a row. On the flip side, do I really think the Titans will be able to hold them off? Or do I think the Titans could actually pull the win? I've been down on the Titans this whole year. I really have. It's been, Titans fans probably think I hate Tennessee for some reason. So that's where it gets tough. Kansas City's, if you compare their position by position, quarterback, easy choice, Kansas City. Running back, easy choice, Tennessee. Receiving core, that's where it gets a little tough. You have top 10 receivers on both teams, but I trust the big play from Tyreek Hill more than I do A.J. Brown. Tight end, Kansas City. Defense, bit of a wash edge Kansas City, I'd say. So there's that. And then, of course, coaching staff, edge Kansas City. This game will be played in Tennessee, but I'm going to say, Tennessee did beat Kansas City earlier in this year, 27-3. So that did somewhat influence me, but I'm going to say that for the third year in a row, Kansas City will be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. And I hate to say that, but unfortunately, that's where we're at. So now we go to the NFC. So the NFC has the Green Bay Packers as the 1 seed, which is nice. Then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the 2 seed, playing host to the 7 seed Philadelphia Eagles. The 3 seed Dallas Cowboys will be hosting the 6 seed San Francisco 49ers. And the 4 seed LA Rams will be hosting their division rival 5 seed Arizona Cardinals. Let's start with the 2 seed Bucs versus the 7 seed Eagles. So first things first, Buccaneers and Eagles did play earlier this year in Philly. Tampa would win that game 28-22. So there's that. Tampa Bay is an interesting team to look at. Obviously, you have Tom Brady. He's probably the best player of all time. I hate comparing linemen to quarterbacks and all that good stuff, but you know what I mean by that. So you have Brady. That's an edge. Normally, a quarterback in his mid-40s would be a wash, but Brady's not a wash. Brady's one of the best quarterbacks still in the game. Running game, Leonard Fournette has been one of the better backs, but will he be fully healthy? Ronald Jones has been a solid replacement for him, but he's dealing with an injury, so it's kind of tough. The running game's kind of tough. Receiving-wise, obviously, you're without a couple players here in Tampa Bay. Antonio Brown, we all know what happened with him. Chris Godwin, torn ACL, done for the year. So that's a couple brutal losses for Kansas City. On the flip side, you do have Mike Evans. You still have Rob Gronkowski. You have one of the best run defenses in the league. And now you do have some healthy corners. So that will help Tampa Bay. Philadelphia on the flip side. So Jalen Hurts is one of the better running quarterbacks in the league. I don't trust his deep ball at all. So there's that. Running back wise, will Miles Sanders be healthy? If he is, that's a big plus for Philly. If he isn't, I mean, you still have Jordan Howard, who's been dealing with a stinger, but it's not the end of the world. You have Boston Scott. So you have serviceable running backs. Receiving wise, I mean, you have Devonte Smith. Tight end wise, you have one of the best in Dallas Goedert. And on the defense, you have one of the better playing defenses in the past few weeks. Now, people are going to look at me and say, well, they got blown out by the Cowboys. They allowed 56 points or whatever against Dallas. That was a backup defense. A lot of the Eagles starters were unable to play that game. And a lot of them were given rest days too, or, had phantom injuries. But it is what it is. So when these two teams met, I do want to point out, this was a different squad in Philly. This was a different squad in Tampa. The Eagles squad was different. They did not have some of the players that they currently have. They didn't have Dallas Goedert. Jordan Mailata was playing at right tackle. Celine Johnson was hurt. So they had they had a player playing a position he's never played before. So it's interesting. And they threw the ball more than they ran the ball. Now the big battle here is going to be Philadelphia's top-ranked rushing attack versus Tampa Bay's top-ranked run defense. Who's going to win that battle? That's the big question. And really, the other thing that's going to come up is you're going to see Tampa Bay's Rob Gronkowski constantly just destroy the Eagles. O.J. Howard will get some big plays. I guarantee that. So who's going to win this battle? Bias, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it. Philly will get the upset here. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan, so there's a bias there. But I just got a feeling that Philadelphia has the capability to do it. They're playing at a high-octane level. They're ready to go. Tampa Bay is dealing with a ton of injuries. This is going to be my upset call of the playoffs. 3 seed Dallas versus 6 seed San Francisco. So these two teams did not play this year. Dallas is one of the hotter teams in the league. They have lost one of their last 6 games. So they're in a good position to play well. Dak Prescott, comeback player of the year, easy choice, no doubt. Dak's been one of the better quarterbacks in the game. They have a top-tier receiving core led by CeeDee Lamb. And, of course, you have other players there, too, like Amari Cooper. So, even Cedric Wilson, you got to give him a shout-out for after what he did to the Eagles. Tight end-wise, Dalton Schultz has been one of the better ones in this year. So, there's that. So, Dallas is definitely looking strong. I didn't even mention their run game. Granted, Zeke's still dealing with a little bit of an injury, so he's been delayed. He's been limited a little bit. Tony Pollard's dealing with an injury. Their offensive line, one of the best in the league. Their defense is one of the top defenses in the NFL, hands down. They've been playing at such a high level. The Cowboys defense, though, is a defense that you can beat, but they will beat you as well, so it's kind of tough to peg them. On the flip side, you got San Francisco. Now, I'm going to say Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be playing quarterback. That's what it seems like is going to happen. So that's interesting. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has been a iffy quarterback, but he did lead a huge comeback last week. So they needed that win. That was a crucial win for them. And for Garoppolo to lead the comeback just really gives San Francisco some edge. However, who's going to be their running back? And I mean, the receiving core, as good as it is, it's not the Cowboys level. George Kittle is better than Dalton Schultz, but by how much is the other thing. I mean, can he stay healthy for the game? Fingers crossed. Their offensive line isn't Dallas's. Their defense is great, but it's not Dallas level. And you're playing in Jerry's world. I mean, you know it pains me to do this as an Eagles fan, but Dallas will win this game. Now, lastly, we have the 4-seed Rams hosting the 5-seed Cardinals. So these two teams did meet, of course, twice this year. Arizona won a game 37-20, and then LA won a game 30-23. So they each won a game. There's that. Both games were won on the road, ironically enough. So it's interesting. Looking at how these two teams have been playing lately, the Cardinals and the Rams have both been trending in the wrong direction. So let's look at the rosters real quick. Quarterback for the Rams is Matthew Stafford. He has a lot to prove. He has a lot to play for this year. So there's that he has going for him. Running game, I mean, I'm going to assume Cam Akers is active, but he's not playing at a full level. So Darrell Henderson is going to essentially be your lead back. Not the best, not the worst. Receiving-wise, Cooper Kupp just has been the breakout of the year, in my opinion. He's just been spectacular this year. Huge plus for the Rams. If they had Robert Woods, it would be even better, but they don't have Woods. So it's a bit of a tough loss for them, obviously, but they do have Odell now. Tight end Higbee's been decent. Their defense is like a super strong defense, especially since they just got Eric Weddle out of retirement. But can you really build a super defense in the NFL? You could have 11 All-Pros, but can they play together is the real question. On the flip side, you get Arizona. Now, Kyler is healthy, so that's a big plus for them. Kyler Murray is a strong quarterback. He's mobile when he has to be, but he's not as mobile as he used to be because of the injury he's been dealing with, so that does take away some of his game. Running backs are good. They have a strong 1-2 punch, but it's not like the best. Edmonds is the better of the two. Connor's definitely the running back 2 there, but I mean, they got a strong 1-2 punch, definitely. Now, the receiving core is where it gets tough. Christian Kirk's good, but he's not elite. And if this team still had DeAndre Hopkins, they'd be a lot better. But Hopkins obviously will not be playing this game. He's done for the year. That's a big loss. Tight end-wise, good but not great. Defense, good but not great. You guys can tell where I'm going with this. Rams, given home field advantage, which, I mean, for the Rams, it's not much. I'm going to give them the edge. So that means the only upset I called in the first round is the Philadelphia Eagles beating Tampa Bay. So now we're going to look at the 1-seed Packers playing host to the 7-seed Eagles. Now, this Eagles team is giving me a lot of those 2008 Eagles vibes where they went in as the 6th seed. Remember, there's only 6 teams that made the playoffs that year. They knocked out the 3-seed Minnesota Vikings, went to the 1-seed New York Giants and beat them. So then they went to the NFC Championship game where they would lose, but doesn't matter. So on the flip side, Green Bay, I mean, they're led by who I think is the MVP, Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is having one of the best years of his career when he needs to. So it's huge for them. Aaron Jones is healthy now. That's huge for them. He'll be able to really help beat the Eagles, who have a suspect run defense. Devonte Adams, still one of the best receivers in the game. Top 5, easy. Especially with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. Adams, pending free agent, assuming they don't franchise tag him. He's going to get a ton of money, especially if he balls out in the playoff. So that's huge for him. Tight end, really iffy. Defense, good but not great. So playing in Lambeau Field is a huge negative for any team, especially if the weather's going to be a factor. We have no idea how the weather's going to be, so I'm going to say it's going to be cold. So I'm not naive. I am not naive. The last time Philly did go into Green Bay, they did pull the victory. But, I mean, I can't see it happening. I can't see them doing it for another time. Green Bay wants to beat the Eagles. They want to get their revenge. So Green Bay is going to pull it off. Rodgers wants that MVP. Rodgers wants to be show that he's the guy. So he has a lot more to prove. Dallas hosting the LA Rams. So these two teams did not play this year. It's a tough draw for me. It's really a tough draw here. I'd like to see Dallas lose, but they're playing in Jerry's world. But on the same page, they've lost some weird games. So when you put the Cowboys up against the Rams offense, it's a tough draw for Dallas because the Cowboys, the way they've been playing, is as good as they are. They lose some games to teams that have offenses similar to what the Rams have. Plus, Stafford does have a bit of a grudge against the Cowboys because the last time Stafford made the playoffs when he was a Lion, the Cowboys were the team that knocked him out of it. So you do have to keep that in mind. He has a lot to prove. A lot of people are calling him washed up at this point just because he started off hot, but then he got cold. He has a lot to prove. A lot of players on the Rams have a lot to prove. A lot of them have been here before too. Cowboys haven't really been here all that much. Getting a big win here over San Francisco, which is a huge rivalry from the 90s and 80s and such, is big for them. They're going to be really putting their hearts out on the field against San Francisco. But can they take out San Francisco's rival, the Rams? Tough call. I'm calling the Rams pulling the upset here in Jerry's world, just because I think the Rams, they have more to play for than Dallas does. Dallas is a younger team. Dallas is seemingly set for the future. The Rams are kind of competing for a win this year. So that's where we're at, which sets up the NFC Championship game as the Rams at the Packers. Already, weather is a huge factor in this game. Gigantic factor in this game. Obviously, Green Bay playing host to an LA team is huge. You always hate to see that, but that's where we're at. Lambeau Field is already a huge advantage for the Packers. So, who do I have winning this game? It goes without saying. Aaron Rodgers is going to outduel Matthew Stafford. Aaron Rodgers will figure out how to beat that Rams defense. He's done it before. He can do it again. These two teams did play earlier in the year. Packers would win that game 36-28. So, Packers will win, which sets up a Super Bowl matchup as the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Green Bay Packers. Shout out to Super Bowl I for this one. So, this is a battle of two historic teams, two historic franchises in general, two historic quarterbacks. Mahomes is, a lot of people are already calling him a top 5 quarterback of all time. I am not one of those people, for the record. Aaron Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback of all time. I will say that. Aaron Rodgers playing like an MVP. Patrick Mahomes was a little slow to start the year, but he has been hot lately. Running games, edge to the Packers once more. Aaron Jones, top tier. AJ Dillon, one of the better running backs in the game as well. On the flip side, when it comes to the running backs for Kansas City, good, but not great. Williams, like I said before, is good. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is good, but not great if he's even healthy, which I'm going to assume he will be at this point in the time if Kansas City is still playing. You're talking about a month in the future. Receiving core, Adams v. Tyreek. Tough draw for both of them. They're both top 5 receivers to me. I give the edge to Adams. So right now I'm saying Green Bay. Tight end, easy edge to Kansas City. Packers are throwing out Mercedes Lewis at times still, whereas Kansas City has Travis Kelce. So boom, huge edge to Kansas City there. Defensively, gets tough. Both defenses are good, but they're not like elite top tier defenses. Of course, you're playing at a neutral site as well. So this takes away Green Bay's advantage and Kansas City's advantage. So that's big for both these teams. Who do I have winning this Super Bowl? So going position by position, offensively, it's an edge to Green Bay, but not a huge edge. Defensively, it's like a slight edge to Kansas City. So I think you're going to see a repeat of Super Bowl I, you could say. I call Green Bay defeating Kansas City in the Super Bowl, giving Rodgers his second ring, proving that he can get whatever the heck he wants. He deserves whatever the heck he wants. If he wants to go play for Philadelphia, if he wants to play for New Orleans, let him. If I had to predict a score, I'm just going to throw one out here. 38 to 35, I'm going to say. It's going to be a high-scoring game regardless. So that'll be my official NFL playoff prediction here. I know there's going to be some people scratching their heads at a couple of my choices here, but I just, I think I gave enough reason to at least explain it. Example, Rams over Cowboys, Eagles over Buccaneers, Titans over Bengals. So those are the big ones. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love these prediction videos. I love the feedback I get because a lot of people scratch their heads at me. So again, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I think at this point in time, Super Bowl 56 will be won by the Green Bay Packers. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good rest of your day.